Yeah, definitely saved me some
It could
some
be a
therapy
little
dollars.
shaky. Imagine being in a school now where you're losing access to libraries and then all and all the other stuff going on.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think this is the thing. And I think there should just be like it should be way more strict when it comes to like um what's the fucking called? Like just education for children and like
Oh yeah.
when it comes down to like parents being like I don't want my kids to learn other things. Well, I don't want them to start basically learn things and start thinking different. It's like one of the weirdest things to bring up. You know, when the like I mean, it's damn near mandatory that you put your kids in school one way or another. I'm pretty sure you can get in trouble if you don't put your kids in school.
Yeah. It's so
But then being able to go homeschool is like, I don't know, it's just so weird. And then even now with like the
yeah.
preventing certain books and shit, and it's like books shouldn't be PC. It shouldn't be like talk, but it shouldn't be like. It should just talk about it. It should just be a history class. That's all shit should be. Shit should just be. It's math. It's
It's
English.
like it should be. This is an objective as much as we
This
can
is what
analysis
happened.
of reality and what happened,
Yeah,
right?
this is what happened. This is
It's
what happened after. This is what they did with that. This is what happened. This is why we have like very
yeah.
straightforward.
The problem is that it's well, oh boy, oh man, there's just as someone who like really like tore like I was pretty heavily involved in that to the point where I was actually like lobbying for a homeschool rights organization for a while, which was stupid because I was in high school and didn't have my own thoughts at that point.
That's how they get you.
No, that is how they get you, quite literally. But that being said, it ended up backfiring on them because first of all, it meant that I got to actually talk to like a lot of the Texas legislators face to face. My first day in the Capitol, so technically liquor is illegal on like in.
Oh, how the fuck you get in the
inside
Capitol?
building?
How'd that happen?
Get in,
Yeah, weren't you
get
homeschooled?
inside.
Huh? I thought you said you were homeschooled.
I was.
The door was open, man. They let them in.
No, like if you no the Texas Capitol building in Austin.
Wait,
What do you
why would that be confusing, Izzy?
Yeah.
I thought it was like a
Anyone
fucking
can go
field
inside.
trip. Because we were talking about homeschooling. He's like, yeah, and the first time I went to the Capitol, I was like, y'all went on a field trip to the Capitol?
Izzy, I'm
man,
allowed to go outside.
You went in high school. I'm just saying, it's kind of odd.
Isn't
Maybe
it?
it's just for me. I mean, I went to.
Next you're gonna be like, this man knows what grass is?
Okay, those are.
How did you learn about that? Trees?
Hey, it might just because of how I grew up. I would have never thought you could even walk into the Capitol.
Yeah, no, it's like a public building. You can go inside. You can go into their offices.
I would say there's no reason for me to go there. I would say, I guess.
Not only can you go inside the Capitol, you can bring a firearm.
Okay, I'm gonna need you to
bring
slow
a
down there,
loaded-
pal.
You can bring a fully loaded AR into the Capitol and walk it through security.
Oh, what the fuck are? Oh
Because-
Lord, these guys.
Because Texans are fucking insane. There was one guy that one time, so while I was in Austin, there was one day where the Capitol got locked down because some guy threatened a politician, like a sitting representative, and kind of implied that his firearm would be a part of the threat,
Good job.
and it locked the whole fucking Capitol down. Apparently that happens like once a year at least. And here's the thing, one guy tried to put up a bill saying you can't bring guns into the Capitol, and he almost lost his seat over that because Texans are fucking nuts.
Hey, it's a thingy people use.
So that's why no one tries to like ban guns in the Capitol building because it's like a politically unviable move. Even though that's insane.
Hold on, give me a second, Ryan.
Yeah.
Blue,
Every river
I ain't missed nothing there. Our team is stupid. I said let me lead the invade. Or Maokai wanted to lead the invade, which doesn't make sense. I put a ward down. Or Maokai flashes, dashes onto someone. None of us can follow up.
ladybugs should really bug
He's stupid. That's on him. That has nothing to do with me. Let them do his thing. I'm moving off from there. I'm low-key scared because the way he's playing is hyper aggressive, and he's a level 1 Maokai to Ashe and Zyra. So we'll see how that
Go
goes.
swimming later.
Are you talking about my animation? I think he misses sometimes. I think he makes it sometimes and he misses sometimes. I don't know if it changes. Also, back what you were saying about the Capitol. So you went to the Capitol to talk to people.
Never trust a buttercup.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, you know how like weed is still legal in Texas?
Is it illegal? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Like THC, like Delta 12. You can technically do Delta 8 still.
Well, you can do all the
that's
other
kinda
deltas, but yeah.
Yeah.
Laugh like a hyena.
But
And friends will gallop to your side.
But so when I talked to these guys, I at the time, even though I was in Republican circles, I was still personally like kind of like pro decriminalization, which should have like been a sign that like I didn't really actually agree with what Republicans were saying. I just thought I did because like my parents were, right, and I wasn't old enough to like differentiate my own beliefs and values. But
Yeah.
but here's the thing, like when I went into the Capitol, every single politician, every representative, every senator that I talked to, fucking, like when I asked them what they personally thought about it, were all personally pro in favor of like decriminalization. They're like, yeah, absolutely, I'd be super down for that. The reason they said they wouldn't do it is they're like, oh, but I'll lose like my seat. I can't. It's like not politically.
That's literally
viable.
that is the story
Yeah.
for every politician across the world. Not even just like
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not only that, like, so one of the most like explicitly like conservative anti-gay politicians that like I ever met ever, like in Texas. Like this guy was like publicly like mocking gay people on his Facebook and was like making fun of drug addicts and stuff like that. This man would smoke pot with his staff on Capitol premises and had a sister who was a lesbian. And was like, no, this is just like how you like they were. It was so fucking unapologetic about like just how like when it came to just how much basically it was all theatrics, right? And like they'll tell you that to your face. Like I'm a fucking like 19-year-old kid. I don't really know what I'm doing. They don't have to tell me any of that, but they did. They're just like, yeah, no, you just have to say that shit to get reelected. I don't actually,
Wow.
I personally would vote for
I
it.
can't
I
outrun
personally
them.
don't believe any of this. It's all of the all of the fucking, and it's still to this day, that's what it is. Whenever you hear about the like the book banning, the transgender issues,
Take all the gold.
critical
I really
race
don't.
theory, anything, right? All of it is literally them just basically like hyping up whatever panic the conservative voter base is into and playing
I
into
love
that.
how the grass is fluffy on
But
my
they don't
toe.
believe any of what they're saying, and they will tell you if you talk to them face to face that they don't believe any of what they're saying. And that, like at the time, I kind of thought, naively that like, oh, what, that there was some sort of integrity in place. And no, it's
What
all
the
a fucking
fuck?
performance.
No,
There's,
sorry,
like,
I was laughing at the let go off the. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say that like, and I'm basically done, but I was just gonna say that like, it got to the point where there's even one time where I went to ask a guy, within the first day of session, like, hey, are you gonna support this bill? And his staff like looked at me weird, and they were like, what do you mean support this bill? Like, if you had a bill you wanted to get on board with, you should have come to us like 3 months ago, like before the session even started. I was like, what? Turns out, almost every single piece of legislation that goes through it, I don't know how exactly it works in every state, but I assume it's the same, including Washington. The details of how those votes are gonna be worked out happen like
Months ago.
months and months and months. And everything
Yeah.
that you see on C-SPAN, everything that you hear in the news about debates, about votes getting pulled up,
I grow
all
my
of
own
that
food.
is like a fucking... It's theatrics. We
Yeah.
even had deals where it was like, this guy was like, look, I can't support this bill, but I agree with it personally, so what I'll do is I have these guys that I'm in negotiations with, I'll use my leverage with them, they'll vote for it, I'll vote against
want to
it,
put my
but
toes
I'll make sure that it goes
Push
through
for
for you,
it.
but that way I don't have to look like I supported it to
You know,
my
it's-
constituents.
you know,
like,
it's sad.
like, I've had people say that to me, my face, and like, it just completely fucking desensitized me to just how politics
That only
works.
that only started happening about 15 to 20 years ago. It's a relatively new thing for it to be happening this way.
Yeah. Fucking,
It has everything to do with social media. Just politicians basically run off of social media now, which is very cringe.
Kind of. It amplifies it. I think the trend.
Well, I'm consider when I say social media, I'm looping in just media in general.
Yes, that has definitely changed the way the world functions in a way I don't. think
Straight
we
social
ever
meat.
experienced. Just the fucking internet.
Internet, TV, just everything. Just the politicians just run off of the internet and television. They don't run off of like anything else really.
Yeah, but just the complete disconnect between like principles and the performance that they put on, in front of everyone. It's just.
Oh yeah, it's bad.
It's so and
It's bad.
so self-aware and blatant, and it's like, and look, hey, like for some things that don't really matter, like at the end of the day, like, look, hey, if you know that all the people that vote you into office are kind of like dumb hive minds, and you need to kind of like, cater to them a little bit so that you can get actual work done. There's a degree to which I'm like, okay, like I get it. Like I work in IT and I lie all the time to people that put in tickets, and they'll be like, what's wrong? And I'll be like, I know what's wrong, but it's a complicated answer, and if I tell them the real answer, they won't understand it, and I know they'll misinterpret it. So I'll tell them something that I know they want to hear that's effectively the same thing, just so they like leave me alone and let me fix the problem. Because I know at the end of the day, they don't actually care what the answer is. They want their shit to work so they can do their job. They don't have to think about it, and I can do that. And I want to do that, but I also don't want to waste my time or their time by like trying to explain things to them that aren't really relevant. So I get that need to a certain degree, but like when you are, attacking gay people, when you are attacking transgender kids, which I cannot think of a more helpless, like, demographic that's not able to defend themselves right now. Like, you are literally going after children for fucking political points. Like, I don't want to sound crazy, but I think you should be publicly shot and put in the fucking ground. Like, you have no soul. You have no soul and should not be participating in society. That is, I just can't imagine how people can like sleep at night.
I mean, a lot of times, like the thing is, they just don't care. Like they just don't care enough. Like it's like
But
literally
how can
all
you like
all that
what
all that
part
all
of
that
your
matters to them.
soul-
All that matters to them is getting reelected.
exactly.
What part of your soul?
like what part of you does not like at some point feel like, you know what, these are not only are these kids, these are like real like kids who are already going through something that's really complicated and taking so much shit. Like
They lost the plot a long time ago. I mean, like,
yeah.
oh shit.
And they always have, but I just the thing that blew my mind was that I guess these people, when I talked to them face to face, they weren't completely stupid. They would.
Well,
We're judging them off of the characters that they play and that we see in the news, but as individual people, like they're for the most part relatively
You would
smart and
do you watch a
reasonable.
lot, do you watch Twitch TV at all? Or like do you like watch like any political comment like people?
Like you talking about like Hassan?
No.
Ew.
No, I'm talking about I Am Very Important. I think you'd like him. IRI.
Alright.
I think you would like IRI.
I'll check it out.
I am very important. Yeah, he mostly just does like C-SPAN coverage, but like it's still like I think it's important. Like what he does, he's very like democratically biased, but I still think that like a lot of his coverage is very like I enjoy his commentary.
But going forward, one thing
He's also has a pretty cool community too of people that just like kind of like it just kind of feels like you're in a similar mindset of passion. But there's a lot of things to learn about when it comes to the bureaucracy of like all politics, and especially American politics. Like so, I mean,
Check it out.
Yeah, I just think whenever he streams, like he usually covers like C-SPAN or like he covers like a hot topic. But I think you'd like his stream, and I think that you'd like his community. But
That's cool. Yeah, because like the only like major, I don't know, most political
they are
streamers
so
I
aggressive.
feel like are either heavily toxic themselves or for whatever reason, like regardless of where you fall politically, the community is just utter dog shit.
I am very
actually-
important. It's nice. I like this community. It's kind of a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. I actually like agree with like basically everything Hassan ultimately
Oh,
like
wait.
comes down
Oh my god.
no, but I don't like watching his stream.
Well, the thing about Hassan is that like basically he's just gonna give like whatever is the take that's gonna make him more popular. Like so.
What? No, no, dude. Oh no, no, no. Absolutely
Oh yeah, for sure.
not.
He's completely clout brained. Completely.
No,
clout
no,
brained.
he fucking pisses people off all the time.
Yeah, it pisses
Yeah.
off the right, which is like very easy to
That's-
do.
On
yeah,
the
yeah,
internet.
that's
yeah,
fine. Yeah.
yeah, no, popular on the internet, the popular opinion is going to be anything that is like left leaning in general. Anything.
It depends on what part of the internet you're on, but like, yeah, I
I
think
mean, Twitter, Twitch. I mean,
definitely not
you-
Twitter. Sorry, X.com.
Whatever. You know. Just like the general young audience of people that exist on the online, just like yeah, like which is the majority of them. Like, yeah, it's definitely just a clout game for Hassan.
But like, I think that you can't just say like left and right anymore. I don't think there's such a thing as a left and right opinion. I
Oh,
think
for sure
there's-
there is. Nah,
I mean, there are.
1,000,000%.
I mean, there's a spectrum, but I think within those spectrums, like I have seen, I've kind of had a weird outlook on politics because I've been heavily involved in like very conservative politics growing up, and then as I've gotten older, I've gotten
yeah,
involved
like,
with, like
liberal-
activity inside of like very like left-leaning political groups and stuff like that, and there are a lot of similar like. They're very different, but the thing that is very similar is that within those groups, there are so many fucking different ways of thinking, so many disagreements on how to be handled. Like, just as like two people might be left, like you take the two like most like typically the groups that are put like left farthest left on the political spectrum, those would be like anarchists and communists typically, right? Those two groups have had like multiple wars.
Well, anarchists aren't really 100% left. Like anarchists are more like central with like a.
Oh no,
real-
no, that's not. No, that is absolutely
Well,
incorrect.
whenever you
No,
say
like, no, 'cause,
whenever
like,
you
you
say
see the
liberal,
anarchist-
we're not talking about the word liberal is like different. Like there's American liberalism and there's like the actual liberal. Like there's like
Yeah,
liberal-
you can absolutely be an anarchist and be in the center with like with the idea of like I just don't like the government. That could be a right wing person or a left wing person.
That's more like right wing libertarianism, like anti-state.
Yeah, but a lot of
like
those people. Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
go
this
ahead.
is sort of like why the four quadrant system is a little bit better because you can be like anti-authoritarian, but also like
left or right.
what are the axes? It's authoritarian and it's authoritarian to libertarian, and then like pro-state, anti-state. Or no,
Are
no,
you talking about the Overton window?
no, not the Overton window. Fuck it.
Talking about the four quadrants. I know he's talking about like.
Quadrants.
I think it was economics.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's authoritarianism versus
Political
non.
compass.
Yeah, and then economics where you stand.
You mean just the authoritarian, libertarian, left, right?
Yeah, authoritarian, libertarian, left, right. So you're talking about like, in terms of right, like that's like libertarian right.
Yeah,
would
that's
be,
the
like,
thing. When you say anarchist,
people.
it could be.
Anarchists are so that's like conservative libertarians would be libertarian right. Anarchists are libertarian left.
I feel like they function almost the same with different ideologies on how to spend money.
No, they're very, very different. Like anarchists are. So like if we're talking about like the left concept of anarchy, or the
what is
concept of
happening?
anarchy itself emerged out is like a subset of thought of the school of socialism, which kind of came out of the French Revolution, and anarchy is simply like we think of the conventional understanding we have of anarchy is the imagery we have from
fuck.
fucking movies like what's the guy with the guy
Sons of Anarchy, where it's a bunch of bikers.
Well, Sons of Anarchy. So anarchy is also within the English language a synonym for chaos, right? Chaos, disorder, destruction, whatever.
Right.
But anarchy is the political theory doesn't have anything to do with that. Anarchy is the absence of a centralized
left.
state. It's not the.
Oh, you're not
absence of
wrong
order or
about that at
social
all,
structure.
Blue.
It is just simply there is not like a single state. And even within
Even though I
anarchy, there's
think-
different subsets of anarchy. So there's like
Online is left wing for you. Online is
there's
left because a lot of younger
anarcho-libertarianism, there's
people are
also-
left.
I
So
can't remember
we
what it's called off the
generally
top
are
of my head,
like
but there's like a version of anarchy
kinda
where it's
more
like
in
basically
that, you
like
know what I'm saying?
the way you would structure society is like a large amount of autonomous, very like small in terms of population, social groups with free agency for people to
Right.
move between them.
I'm gonna get anti-heal off the jump.
Anarcho-syndicalism, that's what it's called. So like even within anarchy, there's like lots of broad subsets and variations. But anarchy, the theory itself, is like as a political theory, not as the word, not as is conventionally understood, not as a synonym for chaos. Anarchy is the political theory, is inherently and fundamentally left-wing, and has emerged as a subset of like socialist thought.
But you would understand, like you wouldn't like just like okay. Let me see what.
The problem is like
not believe that there's right-wing people who believe that too, right?
There's right-wing people who are like anti-state, anti-government.
Right. And they would also say things like, I wish we had smaller subsections of like communities so that we could police ourselves and da-da-da-da. Which is like
right.
they're trying to take power away from the main government.
That way I don't have to live with black people anymore.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like, those are all extra issues, but it's like that's what I'm saying. Like, I think your initial what I initially attached to was you said something along the lines of like, there's a lot of nuance, and then there was like, there's a difference between the an anarchist and something else. I can't remember what you said, but that's why I initially started fighting back. I was like, I don't believe. Like they kind of go for the same thing. Like the overall product ends up being the same, but they have different reasons.
I mean, having like one area where there is some degree of overlap, I don't think means that they are both like that doesn't mean that anarchy is like right-wing leaning.
No, but it's both. That's what I was saying initially.
No, like
you can be both. It doesn't have to be a left thing.
I think you can be anti-state and be right-wing or left-wing. But anarchy as just in terms of like accuracy as a classification, as like a formal system of classification of thought, anarchy is left-wing. You cannot be like a right-wing anarchist.
Well, it's like the same way as like you can't be like a authoritarian like left-winger.
Yeah, well, you can be authoritarian left. That would be like a Marxist-Leninist.
Yeah, well, I guess that would be well, yeah, but the thing is, like, a lot of these political ideologies like just don't happen. Like, they're just not real.
They don't work, but it's like they're possible.
It's not about working or not working. It's about classification, right? It's about like what we're talking about isn't like whether ideas are good or bad. We're talking about semantics, which I fucking hate.
But wait,
it is important
saying
because that otherwise, like, if we're talking about this stuff and we don't know what and no one knows like how everyone is using these words, then we can't have a conversation about whether the ideas are good or bad, which is sort of the problem with fucking socialism.
I don't want to talk about
semantics. No one
semantics.
fucking knows what socialism and
Wait,
communism.
hold on. Let's slow down. I don't want to talk about semantics. I'm talking about, can you not have a right-wing person who believes in conservative values and then also believes that a small community is better for his family?
Yes, you absolutely can.
But he would say he'd want to break down our state governments into small versions where they can police themselves, such and such forth. And if we were to take steps to do that, that'd be essentially anarchy. It would come to the same conclusion.
Anarchy is a lot more complicated than that. That is something that anarchists, like, breaking down states and decentralization is a core facet of anarchy. But there is more to anarchy and anarchy theory than just that. It's part of the whole. Right? Like, just because something shares one part of something doesn't mean they share the whole of something.
These boys going crazy, Blue.
I understand that idea. I understand the concepts, but I feel like that's such a big part of it. It's like saying like a gay guy is like not gay, but he takes dicks up the ass, and you're like, okay, well, that's a pretty big part of being gay, right? You're like, well, not really. There's other parts of being gay. I'm not really. Like, you kind of are. Like that. If you were to like incite riots to break up the government, then you'd be an
But like anarchism is fundamentally another core facet of the tenet of anarchy is equality, right? Like the point is supposed to be the reason for the breaking down of society into smaller social units, or units of like not necessarily governments, but like just like smaller organizational units, is to prevent the consolidation of power and the ability for like one group or one identity group to be able to consolidate economic power and then abuse that power against other people. Anarchy is fundamentally about prevention of restructuring society around the abuse of power, which incidentally smaller organized subsets of society want to do that. Right-wing libertarians who want to decentralize society want to do so.
It's literally me, Vlad Mal, right
like,
now.
for example, like let's go back to like conservative homeschoolers. What they want to do, the reason they want to sort of like, because a lot of times they tend to be like, I don't want the state involved in my life. I don't want the state controlling my what my kids can think or say. The reason that they're anti-government is not because they want to prevent abuse of power. It's because they want to have utter and absolute power over their children, and the state holds them accountable for their actions. if you don't educate your children properly, if you beat your kids, if you fuck your kids, which has absolutely been a problem in the homeschooling community, the state will come in and take your kids away, and the parents don't want to give that for that absolute power they have over their children. So right-wing anti-authoritarians want to be removed from a larger society and a larger state because they see that as a way for them to retain their power, whereas like anarchists want to break down society.
I'm gonna get this Mikhail's and start
to
helping these dudes
prevent
out.
the abuse of power.
So okay, this is. I think we went a little. We went like that was a lot of information. It was good information. I didn't know about the homeschooling sex thing, but
Oh yeah, it's a whole nother topic. I won't go too far there. It was just a
yeah, we
relevant
can hit that
example.
some other time because that's interesting to me. But I would say, what was I going to say? Yeah, you're God damn it, just lost it for a moment.
My boy be getting whooped.
What were you just saying? What was the last thing you said? Because like you
Just the
came back
distinction-
around to it.
The distinction between like left-wing and right-wing anti-authoritarianism is the reason why. the
You
state opposes it.
you assigned a reason. That's what I was gonna initially.
Right-wing authoritarianism, anti-authoritarianism
Was
fundamentally
to-
is the desire
keep
to
your power, but I don't believe that.
retain power, whereas left-wing authoritarianism is to like break down power and prevent the abuse of it by dividing up the state, preventing the centralization of power.
But power is still being shifted regardless, right? Like, it's like you're still taking power away from the government to give to whatever community you have together. So
And-
we'll say this.
Anarchism is like the destruction of power. It's like if no one can have no if no one person should have all this power, to quote our boy Ye, then you destroy essentially the one ring, right? Like if you don't have states or government, you don't have a way for that power to be consolidated. It can't be abused if it doesn't exist. But the advantage to like large states,
Jeez.
which is the argument you're gonna get from.
I mean,
Marxists
hey,
and
they're intelligent
Marxists who are
sounding, but I don't
very,
know. I
like,
care.
Opposed
I don't know.
ideologically to
I care,
anarchists,
but then
is
don't.
that, like, no, but
We
you
know
need
people
to,
are
like,
good and then they're evil. That's
It's not
the general
about
convo.
the absence of power. It's about like proper
Yeah.
usage and application of power and authority.
It's one of those conversations they just having
and-
fun with.
Which is something that kind of you would get like the right wing
I don't mind it.
anti-authoritarians agreeing with, and they see that power and authority of the state.
But it's some
whether
information
rightly or
that
wrongly,
once they
as
kind of
something
figure
that
this
prevents
out,
them from
if they
being
do
able
come to some
abuse
form
their
of
power they
agreement,
have
it's
over
gonna
people
probably
beneath
change
them.
the way they communicate with that. That's usually how shit like this happens.
I feel like I have a hard time agreeing to this one. It's like I kind of see where you're coming from, but at the same time, I feel like ultimately it ends up being the same product. Kind of like what I said earlier.
I'm curious, like, what is your sticking point here? Because what I'm arguing is not. I'm not trying to. What I'm not giving you is like my opinion or anything. What I'm giving you is so the classifications of what beliefs and ideologies are left or right or whatever. Like that's basically arbitrary and mostly defined by like scholars. This
Well, I
is
mean,
like
yeah.
this is academic
Absolutely.
shit.
We're not gonna-
It's like the periodic table of elements. Like you might not agree that a tomato should be a fruit, but like, or like that Pluto shouldn't be a planet, but like that's not up to us, right? Like we don't get
Right.
to decide that. We don't. You might be like, well, I feel like there's a lot of overlap. I feel like they're similar. Like you might agree with that. I might agree with that, but that's not how it's been classified by like scholars in the left-right spectrum. The
No,
political
that's fine. That's
classification is like
fine.
it's like an academic thing. I'm
So
just saying that like, yeah,
we're not gonna. Okay, so to your point, it's like we're not gonna figure this out in this little group right now. But to say that these two things don't exist,
One.
that the classifications don't exist at all, is like a weird breakdown of what reality looks like for most of us. Because reality is like there are sections. Like you can't, if someone tells you they're left or right, even if we were to be hella like specific and autistic about this and be like, well, it's very nuanced, which is agreed. Like some people are very nuanced. But the classification does say it has a lot of baggage with it. It does come with a
Right.
understanding of
There's
somewhat of that person.
generalizations. There's absolutely like generalizations that are again like generally accurate. I guess I just don't. I don't know what you're having. I'm not even really trying to disagree with you. I'm just trying to sort of explain like this is how these ideologies are classified. This is not like an opinion thing. This is just how.
We're not debating.
Yeah, this is not an argument. This is literally anarchism is not a right-wing ideology. There are no such thing as. It's an oxymoron to say that there would be a right-wing anarchist, just like saying there's a left-wing. It would be an oxymoron to say there's a left-wing Republican because that's not what those words mean.
Well,
There might be similarities between anarchists.
that's not exactly the
and
same. A
right-wing
left-leaning Republican is like not the same thing exactly. Like that's
It
not.
doesn't exist. It's impossible.
Well, it's like, okay, so now we might be going to semantics. If I bite on that, like now we're going to semantics, because then it's like right wing versus conservative is like what or right wing, left wing, or right wing, conservative, all that shit, Republican. Like they're all in my eyes generally in the same area. So it's like if I start arguing, now we're arguing semantics. And that's not really what I want to do. But my initial thing was like, when you go to the outside of the political spectrum for either left or right, you kind of come back around in a full circle. Where yes,
they going all over the place. I'm gonna see how this turns out. We're gonna keep playing. We'll see what they keep saying. I'm gonna see if I can bring in Cole.
I believe that we should be able to do our own thing. We should be able to do it this way. At the end of it, if the left goes all the way to the left and the right goes all the way to the right, it becomes this situation where you're basically breaking things apart to make it work.
Okay, so let me see. I'm gonna rephrase what I think you said. Tell me if I understand accurately. So what you're kind of saying is, I believe what people refer to as
wrong about you dying.
which is the idea that like if someone were to go, extreme left far enough,